Hi, this video is about a paper released by an Apple research team where they talked smack about LLM's ability to reason. I'll put a link to this full paper and then another video that I thought did a deeper, more comprehensive analysis of some of the stuff that I'm going to touch on real quickly here. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you some of the implications of this, because I think this is where there's a distinct lack of understanding or thought leadership on, in terms of like, what does this really mean, what they found, because there's some really interesting things that they did in here and some super interesting results. So let me show you a few things they highlighted from their abstract. It remains unclear whether their mathematical reasoning capabilities has genuinely advanced, and they'll explain why in some of these other ones. So LLMs exhibit noticeable variance when responding to different instantiations of the same question. So for example, they found that sometimes if you gave it like a word problem where it had it in its training set and you changed just something really small that really didn't change the word problem at all, but that took it away from its training set, it dramatically reduced its performance. For example, sometimes if you change the name of somebody, or again, something that really didn't change the substance of it, but actually ended up dramatically reducing the quality. And this is for all large language models, including the new O1 model and process. So although that one had the least amount of degradation. The performance of all models declines when only numerical values and questions are altered. So same thing to like the name. It's similar, but with like if the numbers were slightly different than that from what it was in its training set, then that dramatically reduced the effectiveness of the reasoning. Performance significantly deteriorates as the number of clauses in the questions increases. So again, they're slightly changing the format. Like if the word problem has 5 different variables and they change it to 6, it dramatically decreases things, or they change it in a variety of other kind of simple ways that again don't really change the meat of what should be reasoned about. And so they think the decline is due to the fact that current LLMs are not capable of genuine logical reasoning. And I think that's generally correct, but I'm going to get into, there's some more nuance here that I'm going to get into in a second. They attempt to replicate the reasoning steps observed in training data. Yeah, that's correct as well. For example, adding a single clause that appears to be relevant to the question, we observe significant performance drops in up to 65%. This was a really interesting part. And again, go to one of the videos I'm going to put in the link where he expands on this, but I'll give you a real high level of it, where they've got a word problem and they throw something in there that's not really relevant to the solution. It super throws off the LLMs. And I think that they're correct, and their work provides a more nuanced understanding of the LLMs. This does feel like a bit of a shot across the bow for OpenAI. And I know that people want a simple answer, like what OpenAI is saying is that we're increasing the reasoning of the models. And keep in mind that they have a very big vested interest in promoting the models as actually reasoning. And Apple kind of doesn't. I don't think they have a vested interest one way or the other. Maybe a slight vested interest to kind of shit on them a little bit, like what they're doing here. But I think when you look at the specifics of the tests, when you dig deeper into them, there is a more nuanced understanding here, which is it kind of is reasoning, but it also, if you look really deep down, it is not reasoning. So effectively, it can kind of replicate reasoning if what you're asking it is close enough to what it is in its data set. But the further away from the data set, the less it'll be able to replicate that reasoning. And it does demonstrate that it's not actually reasoning, because if it was actually reasoning, then it would understand the core principles of logic and reason, and then you could throw different things at it that were outside of its training set, and it should be able to handle that. But it's a large language model that's generative AI that generates the next token, and therefore it's not actually doing reasoning. And some people might say, and reasonably so, that this is kind of how the brain works, where to some extent it kind of replicates things and it's pattern recognition. But I think that there's a very valid reason, especially based upon this research and other stuff, to suggest that there's more going on in the brain than what an LLM is doing. Now, there is an option here to potentially, maybe there's kind of a brute force way that OpenAI can get the reasoning out of to maximize these reasoning and get a very high amount to where in most cases it can reason. However, I think that one of the biggest implications of this, and I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, especially those who are techno optimists, just generally as I am, is that LLMs, as the technology is currently now, will have trouble breaking new ground, be it through scientific or other reasoning, other kind of engineering, computer science, and other disciplines. It will have trouble breaking new ground. And I could hear people say, "Oh, but what about like AlphaFold and stuff?" And to me, that is where they've built it specifically for something where there are a bunch of new recipes that are possible, but it's not actually creating new ingredients. And this is something I've said repeatedly, which is that LLMs can create new recipes. They can remix the ingredients you give them into novel combinations, but they aren't creating new ingredients. And that's what I'm seeing here. There's new fundamental pieces of how things work or how to reason that the LLMs will not have access to until you put them in there. It's not, and there might be some amount of emergent properties, but I think this shows that at least currently as it stands, they're missing that amount of emergent ability to genuinely reason over information. So do you agree with me? Let me know. If you like this video, like it. Put in comments what you think. If you want to go do some more research or look at the specifics and bring it up, and or disagree with me on certain things, please put something in the comments. Happy to discuss with you on the actual data that they show in this paper, and then what are the implications of it. So thank you very much. Hope you have a great day. Bye.